Avenue, and then we'll take it higher. Oh, we gonna rock down to Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher. Rockin' in the daytime, Electric Avenue. Rock it in the night.
Tape storage, 35mm style. This is the warehouse for the Science Museum in London, and among all the Victorian ironmongery you'll find this section. It's the computer graveyard. This is the UK 101, one of the very first personal computers to become available in this country. It was personal in every sense. Not only did you have to build it yourself, and this one really has been built by an amateur. It's held together with bits of sellotape and cardboard. Not only did you build it yourself, but if you wanted it to do anything useful, you'd have to write the program yourself as well. Of course, this came as a kit, and there were various kits around at that time. We're talking about the late 70s. This is the first computer to come out of the Sinclair stable. It's the Mark 14. It had a mammoth 256 bytes of memory. Now, that's just about enough to hold a line or so of text. And it didn't have any language on board. It didn't even have a proper keyboard. Now, of course, these are not the kinds of machines that you'd expect to find in a company. That's where the mainframes and the mini computers ruled supreme. But this machine here changed all that. This is the Apple, the first mass-produced personal computer for which software could be bought and used in a business environment. Since then, of course, personal computers have become very much more powerful, and these days they even outperform the old mainframes. Mike and Carol Buckley, like many others running small businesses, were among the first to buy personal computers to see what they could do for them. Behind this ordinary facade, they run a high-tech company producing signs, the kind you can put on the side of a van or in a shop window. He started the business in 1971. It now employs 5 people, and it's highly successful. He hoped his first computer would help him cope with the growing problem of administrating his accounts and paperwork.
The very first computer was bought more out of curiosity and would it help us get home at night. We was always working late, trying to catch up with administration. And we read about computers, and this was in the early 80s, and we bought one, but say more out of curiosity, and then we started using it. And as we started using it, we were able to realise what power there was there.
One of the first things Mike did with the computer was to analyse his cash flow to find out how well the business would expand in the future.
It was interesting to do a 5-year projection that actually showed that within 5 years, we wouldn't actually be taking any steps forward, we would just still be here. So it gave us an insight that within 5 years we were going to have to do something to improve the efficiency of the business and do it as soon as possible.
The analysis showed that as he expanded the business, the additional costs would erode any advantage he gained. So he scrapped his handmade production methods.
Well, we drastically altered production. The signs were made by hand. We were lucky that at the same time an American computer came on the market that could cut out lettering for us and take some of the skill away. So we invested in that straight away, and funnily enough the cash flow program impressed the bank manager that they coughed up the money without much problem.
He bought an off-the-shelf system for sign making which runs on a standard personal computer. It works almost like a word processor, except that it allows very precise control of lettering and graphics. There's a large range of different styles of lettering to suit any kind of sign. Once a design is finalized, the sign can be cut out of self-adhesive vinyl. All that remains is to remove the unwanted material.
CMS? Yes, certainly have the requirement. Would you like to hold on? Yes.
4 separate computers are used to cover every aspect of the business, whether it's printing out the invoices or reminders for payment or providing accurate quotations for customers.
White background? Certainly. good.
The original concepts of the administration computers have taken all the hard work away from me. I now tend to concentrate, well, I always wanted to concentrate on the making of the signs.
You have it, you've got a price of £57.15 plus the VAT. That will cover the 3 signs.
The 4 computers we have all together, they've literally taken over the whole production process. It's enabled us to increase production by 500% with the same amount of staff. And also, without the use of these computers today, we wouldn't really still be in business.
While small businesses may have been the first to discover the advantages of personal computers, large companies like BRS with mainframe or mini computers are increasingly finding that there are advantages in using micros. Well, you wouldn't know to look at it, but this is the regional headquarters of one of the largest haulage firms in the country. The first surprise is that there isn't a truck to be seen. And the second is the technology they're using in there was originally developed to fill some teenagers' Christmas stocking. This PC is a very powerful machine, but the painting program here is a direct descendant of the game software of the early 80s. Packages like this, which allow you to manipulate images and colors, are finding a very profitable role in industry. It's being used here to prepare artwork for a presentation for a customer. The choice of colors and shapes are controlled by using the tablet in combination with menus on the screen. This is part of the legacy of the early development of the micro. It couldn't have been done on a mainframe. The software has been designed to be used by people who aren't expert or even knowledgeable about how to program a computer. When the picture is finished, it will be made into a photographic slide, which will be used for a sales presentation. Using an in-house computer instead of an outside agency has big cost savings for the company.
We reached a point where economically we found that we can create them with the aid of this type of machinery for about a third of the price. We feel that we know as much about our business, particularly internally, and what we're trying to say to people, than we could through an advertising or PR company, where we also would have to pay them additional monies because nobody does anything without a profit. So, if you like, we become a little self-sufficient in that respect.
There's more to haulage these days than simply driving trucks around the country.
That old jukebox playing a song about a truck driving man. Well, pour me another cup.
British Road Services, like other modern haulage companies, offer facilities which go far beyond trucking. They've become distribution managers, offering to organise every aspect of distribution, from the running of the warehouse to making sure the goods get to the right place at the right time. This warehouse is run by the company for one of its clients. The palleted goods arrive from the factory, and from then on, BRS is responsible for them until they reach the shops. Imagine for a moment that you run a business like this that delivers pallets around the country. Every day, your customers phone up and order different amounts of goods delivered on different dates to different locations. Obviously, the sooner you can dispatch the goods, the sooner you'll see your money. But it's not just a case of putting the pallets onto the first truck that happens to be going in the right direction. No, first of all, the most cost-effective loading has to be calculated, and that's not always easy. The loads have to be made up so the routes require the least amount of fuel, and the truck travels the shortest distance in the minimum amount of time. Drivers are legally required to have rest periods, and time must be allowed for this. The deliveries have to be arranged so that they arrive at their destination on time. Arriving too early can be as bad as too late. And the loads have to be organised so that they're in economic sizes. Small loads may have to be placed with a jobbing haulage company. The manual system of sorting all this information requires writing all the details on pieces of paper, and then sorting the paper into regional areas, and again sorting the areas into more local groupings. This system works adequately, but someone thought it could be done more quickly and more efficiently. John Burton was a truck driver. During the long hours driving, he thought about how a personal computer could speed up the paperwork. His management agreed to try out his ideas, and for the last year he's been designing and developing a program to replace the manual system.
Morning, Christine.
Good morning.
Are the reports ready?
Yes, they're on the compact computer over there.
Thank you very much.
John built up his program using a popular database package. He customized it to sort the orders and to calculate the distances, travel times, and delivery costs. The operators are still involved with exercising their judgment in matching the loads, but for the first time they'll have all the relevant information available on the computer.
Well, the beauty of using somebody like John is that he's actually been out on the road. He's actually experienced these things. He knows what a truck can do and what it can't do. And that is immensely valuable when you're trying to build up these models. As a general rule, what we've found is that buying an off-the-shelf package is rather like the tail wagging the dog. What you tend to try and do is to match your system and change that so that it matches the shelf package that you've just purchased. Now, we felt the other way around was the more appropriate. We have an almost unique system, the way that our major client asks us to set up our systems and to report to him. And so therefore, it was far better, in our opinion, to see what we wanted and build up the models that we required.
But BRS has its own system of integrated mini-computers and a department of software engineers who could have designed a central program for all their branches.
Every branch has its own set of problems, its own set of customers who require their own particular solutions. So we try to develop a core system, and then on the peripherals of that, then we have to allow a certain amount of latitude for them to address their own problems.
Does that make the whole thing a bit more acceptable?
It makes them far more... They feel as though they have ownership of the product then, of what they're doing. They have a far closer involvement, a far closer say of how things are done, the streamlining of the systems, and also how the whole corporate system finally develops, because it's the experience of these that actually gets built in later on into the major systems development.
Is that one of the reasons that you concentrate on having PCs everywhere instead of integrating everything into one mighty great mainframe?
To start off with, yes, because it means there that a PC is relatively cheap in comparison to some of the mini machines that are around.
So John's work has the benefits of relatively quickly producing a system which meets the local requirements, but it's also a prototype system which can be developed for the company's mainframe and used throughout the organization. This is one of the distribution warehouses for the British Home Stores group of shops. From here, 50,000 packages are sorted to be delivered to their 130 shops across the country. But British Home Stores was recently merged with Habitat and Mothercare, and British Road Services have won the contract to integrate the distribution for all the 385 shops in the new group. At BRS regional headquarters in Nottingham, an off-the-shelf program is being used to help analyse how to achieve this massive integration. The address for every shop is entered, the size of each delivery, and how often deliveries are made. The program will then calculate all the delivery routes, how the trucks might be scheduled, and the number and sizes of trucks needed. Individual routes can be examined and assessed.
When you've got 1,000 locations, when you've got maybe 600-700 different orders, of all different time and delivery and vehicle access constraints, then you just haven't got a hope of doing it. Not in any sort of timescale that means you can get it this year. Yeah, so we tend to use these as a very, very quick and speedy, what if I do it? And let it do the business for us.
But scheduling truck deliveries has to take into account some quite inconvenient facts. The trucks have to be the right size for the road. The scheduling of the deliveries has to fit in with the times that the shop finds convenient, so there are staff available to receive and unpack the goods. The trucks even have to be the right size for the delivery bays. It becomes extremely complex to work out the routing and pattern of deliveries with constraints like these.
I can bend them a little bit. I can say that yes, your constraints are what they are, but they are costing a lot of money. And it's for the customer then to decide whether he wants to pay that money or not.
BRS have found this bought-in software valuable for planning, so why don't they always use such packages?
The off-the-shelf software is normally often fairly good, probably only an 80% fit in any case, in any one case. So you've always got to tweak it. It never actually suits the total solution. You always have a problem. So there's always some bespoking side to be done.
So what contribution do personal computers make to the organisation?
The personal computer you can put in very quickly. A lot of the modern application tools that you use now, you can develop small databases and so on very, very quickly. It might be from days up to, say, 6 weeks to actually get something usable. The mainframe tends to be a bit longer because of the amount of investment. You have to get consensus of all those who are contributing towards it and make sure you get out of it what you want. And it has to be there for a large number of years to make use of that investment.
But the microcomputer is not just a tool that has to be confined to the office environment. British Road Services can find a use for them almost anywhere. This monster carries about 70 gallons of fuel. That's over 100 quid per fill-up. Of course, that does depend on how much you pay for your fuel. The cheapest way is never to go to your local garage, but to buy it by the tanker load. Yes, but there's the rub. You can't go driving around the country followed by a diesel tanker. Apart from looking a bit stupid, it would be a waste of money. That's where the petrol companies have got you and me over a bit of a barrel. They own the filling stations, and they can charge more or less what they like. But for large diesel users, this could solve the problem. It's a diesel pump that can be put anywhere. And there's the tank. It's designed to be quite portable and capable of quickly being placed on any suitable site. This is the diesel equivalent of the bank cash dispenser. And at the heart of it is, yes, you've guessed, a microcomputer. The idea is that large companies buy their diesel for the best price they can get it. Then they send it to a collection point like this somewhere in the country. In fact, it could go more or less anywhere because there are 100 or more of these places dotted about. In exchange, they get a card, and then whenever they draw some diesel out, as I'm doing now, their account is debited by the amount they remove. Now, you might think that given a jerry can, there's no reason why I can't take a little bit extra for nefarious purposes of my own. For example, my diesel car. Well, the bad news is, this system takes care of all that. Inside the pump, there's a microcomputer like this one. Of course, without the monitor and the keyboard. This one, in fact, is running the prototype system. Now, sensors inside the pump keep track of how much fuel's being taken out, and sensors in the tank itself record how much fuel's been put in. And using the information on the card, this micro can even keep track of who's been using the system. There are two big advantages with using an off-the-shelf micro like this one. The first is that it's cheaper to produce than a dedicated circuit to do the same job. And the second is that this can be reprogrammed to perform other functions as and when they arise. Micros are now finding their way into the most highly computerized environments. This jumble of pipework and plant is part of BP's oil refinery in Grangemouth. Through here, 3,000 million gallons of crude oil pass each year. The burners used to distill the oil are kept running 24 hours a day, so they need to be operated as efficiently as possible. The burners are inspected regularly, and if a fault develops, it must be corrected quickly, otherwise the fuel is wasted, which results in simply burning money.
Well, we've got a problem with number 5 burner. They've got a sparking effect on it. So steam pressure's okay, and the oil pressure's okay.
Right. Traditionally, the local supervisor would try to find and correct the fault, but the cause of burner faults is not easily determined by the non-expert. It requires going back to check the operating specifications for the burner, and these will have been updated over time. So identifying the cause can involve substantial research. This is the nerve center for the whole refinery, BP's central control room. From here, the operation of the whole plant is monitored and controlled by 3 mainframe computers.
Number 3 CCB, this is Bill Blackwood. They've got bad combustion and 101 heaters.
Message received, Bill. I'll investigate that. Thanks very much.
BP have developed an expert system to improve the speed and accuracy of how to cope with a faulty burner. The program, running on a microcomputer, presents the operator with a series of questions, and depending on the answers, it will then either ask further questions or suggest the correct actions which should be taken. The program, in fact, contains the knowledge and experience of BP's burner expert. This enables his expertise to be available at any time by whoever uses the program. In business and industry, it's software like this which is rapidly becoming an invaluable part of decision-making.
Bill Blackwood, come in, please.
Bill Blackwood, go ahead.
Bill, that viscosity in fuel oil is too high. Could you increase the temperature in the midcom unit to 110 degrees centigrade, please?
Okay, will do, no problem.
Thanks very much.
These early PCs were considered by computer experts in business and industry to be little more than toys. But modern, powerful computers are finding an increasingly useful role in solving problems which before would have been considered impossible or prohibitively expensive. Their versatility means they can be used in all kinds of situations to perform all kinds of tasks. But perhaps their most important effect is in enabling non-computer experts to have their say, to contribute their ideas and their expertise, to become involved in information technology.